up? So, hey guys, I've tried the voiceover. I'm not sure I like it, so I'm going to do something different with you today. I'm going to do a in-person talking video. So we are going to be doing mortise and tenons on these legs for the hilt table. It's supposed to be a tenon Tuesday, but it's Wednesday, so we're going to do a wood hole Wednesday. We'll see how it goes. Right, so I'm going to show you how I do this, how I line it up, how I set it up, how I get the mortise and tenons done. There's 4 mortise and tenons we're going to do. We're going to attach the 2 stretchers to the 2 rails, cut them in half, get them ready for glue up, put some splines in. Let's see how that goes. Right, so the first thing what we've got to do, these are our 4 legs, is I need to make sure that all of them are exactly the same. I need to get the angle there. I've done this one, I've hand planned that one so for the right size. So what I need to do now is get all of them exactly the same. Here, top, so that all of those there stay together. We can stay below that line, we should be fine. Let's get all of these lined up. I use a ball peen hammer just to use a nice dead blow. Get them all nice and flush like that. Great, so that's all good. You can see there's some slight differences there. Put that into the vise. Get that all nice and tight. Just starting off on some light passes, just so I can get the high spots away without digging into anything and causing any havoc. The problem with this method is that the grain might not be running the same direction, so you need a sharp blade just to try and get this as close as possible, and then what we'll do is just fine tune each one individually, nice and smooth. It's a good workout. Getting there. Much heavier passes now. It's I don't know how luck got on my side here, but every single piece, the grain is in the right direction. So this is coming out glass. Doing some heavier passes now. Back across. Let's check that. Not worried about the angle of these legs. I've got them pretty close. That there now is all of them exactly the same. Same on the back, so I can also finish that up a little bit, but that's perfect. I'm not worried about the bottoms, I'm going to trim those down. So that face of that is absolutely spot on. Okay, there's a 1.5. I've used my board that's out there, so I can see it. The rails are 1.4, but that's oversized. They're going to be about 600 each. I can make it 1.2 on the legs, because you've got an overhang of 100. So I can cut these down to 700 mils. Let's cut them down to 700s. Doesn't have to be square right now, so we can just... With these saws is that you just need a light touch. You don't have to death grip on this handle, you just let it go. Nice and smooth. So that's obviously got a roughly square edge, but if you put it against there, you can see that that's not going to be square, or flat rather. So you need to get that same reference face off of this, the same angle. 2 ways of doing this. You can do it with a bevel gauge and a sliding bevel, or you can do it with a shooting board, or you could also do it on your mitre saw. But for all sakes and purposes of hand woodworking, let me show you how I do it. Now, I've watched Rob Cosman a lot. He's a great inspiration on hand woodworking. I've made my shooting board designed based on the way he makes it. So I'm going to show you a trick that I learned. It will probably be frowned upon by a lot of people, But let me show you how I get that angle there, referenced exactly to that angle there, with no marking tools. So there's your rail. Obviously, if you're going to do a shooting board, the way of doing a shooting board is you've got your reference point. Sorry, I'm left-handed, so my shooting board is the other way around. And you push up against the plane with your right hand, while your left hand. Just for some context, the reason I'm doing this is because when I mark my tenon out, I need a face that I can reference off, that I know is exactly parallel to that angle, so that when I cut this out, that shoulder there will end up exactly the same as that face there. We are going to be using the angle of that, because that's the angle we want that to go up against, but we want it to be in a straight line, so we need to take off that same angle across there. It's for one way I've figured out how to do it is to actually use the leg. This is square here. I've already done the same thing with these, with the shooting block, to get that and that edge perpendicular. So that there is 100% square to that. And now if you see, you're going to have to flip this over because you want that other angle to get that there. That's what you're going to take off. There is going to be some tear out here, so what I would suggest doing is trimming a little bit of this off. So there, but this is going to be the tenon, so the mortise, so it's going to go into that wood. So this little bit of tear out here is going to get cut away anyway. So you shouldn't have to worry too much about too much tear out there, but let's just get some of that gone. So you hold your block at an angle, get that corner quite close to the edge now. I've only got about that much, gone about that far now. So there's still a bit there. But now we can flip it. Use your block. You'll see now how much closer that is to the same angle. So if we lift it up slightly, we're still going to get a little bit of tear out, but it won't be as bad. And then we can start going from that point. Keep this block back, obviously, because you don't want to be hitting into that. Keep that back, push that a little bit more forward. Because this angle is like that, once it's pushing, it should give you enough grip to give there. So let's go. So that there now is all the way. Take rail number one, pop it there against that. You see that, sorry, there's a little bit of tear out, but we're going to get rid of that anyway, so it's not too much of a train smash here. That is hard up against that. If you line those two up perfectly, that edge there is now completely straight. I don't necessarily mark out angles, exact angles. I probably should. But I generally draw a leg, and then when I like the shape of it, I'll be happy with it. So, to give you one more look, that now is exactly the same as that, and that top line across there should be completely flat. I'm going to angle these down a little bit, so we're going to trim off. That's why I said I'm not worried about the bases of these legs, because I am going to trim those off at a later stage after we've got all of this together. Cool. So what you want is a couple of chisels. I've got a few different sizes here. Mallet, marking knife, square, marking gauge, pen, shoulder plane, and mortise chisel. Now everything on your tenon is going to be gauged by this mortise chisel. So number one's going to go like that. That's going to be the reference faces on that side. So what you need to do is set up your marking gauge. I don't have a double line marking gauge, but what I'm going to do is set it up so that that tenon will be the same width. So that's when you're chopping out here on your mortise that you've got a size that you can reference off on your chisel. So let me mark out the cheeks on this. Out more. Take it across, check. That looks spot on. It's absolutely perfect. So what we'll do is we'll cut outside the line when we do it so that we don't touch the cheek, and we'll clean it up with the shoulder. So let me do all of them. So I'm going to mark around the faces, front and back, using that line that we shot on the shooting board. That is going to be our finished shoulder. So mark up both sides and cut nice and deeply. Do a light pass first. Light pass, get it nice and reference off the face. Light pass, cut a little bit deeper on the back side or front side of this one. 1, 2, 3. Square and a marking knife. You want the flat side of your marking knife on the keep side of the wood, because it's at a taper and a bevel. You want the bevel on the waist side of the wood. Marking knife in, up against, a couple of light passes just to establish it, make sure it's lining up on the other side. A few deep passes. You want to cut the fibers right on the end there. Same thing on this side. Nice line. Little light passes. Get a little bit deeper. This is oak, so it is hard. Okay, so I'm going to get my cutting board here, and I'm going to cut on the waist side of the wood. If you want to, good advice is to mark the waist so that you know which side you're cutting on. So I'm going to cut across that line there, and I'm just going to go to the height of that cheek. Just as close to the line as possible, but not on the line. I normally go about 1 millimeter. That. On the other side. Okay, do that with the rest of them. Out the way. Then I cut the cheeks off, following that line down, cutting on the outside of the line, on the waist side of the line. Because we cut that first line slightly high, you don't have as much chance running your saw into the line. Okay, now we've got the cheeks cut off those sides. Obviously we've done number 4. What I like to do is I just like to take about 6 mil of each side for the short parts. Just to cut these off, just to trim that there and that there on all. straight. See where you're going. A lot of sawing is from muscle memory. Okay, so these ones here you can cut on the line, or just, sorry, on the waist side, but as close to the line as possible. Sighting down, right, let's go clean up these cheeks. So because I cut so close to the line, there's only small amounts to get rid of. And go down lower. That's it. It's one cheek done, all the way up to the line. What we'll do is flip this around. We'll see if we can keep it on the same settings, because ideally I want them same side from each. Yeah, we can. This one's not got too much to come off there. And that should be it. So those two cheeks are done now. Nice and parallel to the faces. We will clean up around the lines now. Last thing to do. There's my line. I'll do a close-up video just now when I do this other one. But this is my line here. So what I want to do is I've got about 1 millimeter from the line to the outside. I'm going to halve that distance. Give it a light tap with my hand just to get it started. I'm just going to sight down the piece of wood here, so that I can see that I'm going plumb, going straight perpendicular to the face. So use the smaller chisel because it's easier to take out material. You can take out a bigger piece of material with a small chisel. I'll use the bigger chisel when I get onto the line just now, so I can cut a straight line. Straight down. Good. So that's pretty close to the line now. I'm going to move on to the bigger chisel. Put it into the line. I always start on the other side, on the outside. I'm not sure why. That's just how I do it. So I'm straight in the line now, nicely referenced. I've got a bit of pressure pushing down on my hand to keep it in there. Looking at this line here that I've drawn, just making sure that I'm going plumb. Gentle taps. Straight down this time. Just like that. Straight down. That's it. Small chisel, just to clean out these back corners. Check that. I normally use the chisel to check that. Hopefully the chisel's straight. Use this little ruler. You can see that there is spot on flat. Absolutely perfect. Cool. Next. The smaller chisel, also very sharp. What I'll do is I'm going to go to the back first, push down, peer it in. Just wiggling the chisel a bit. This is across the grain, so it's quite hard, this wood. So I'm using a smaller chisel. I'm going to come in the side, from the back, put in an angle, and then come around and roll around in the front. We're going to tear out. Come around the side here, just twist it in like that. Using this edge here as a reference. We trim just now. Get there, and keep going around. Here we can take off now this last little bit. That's that. So the last thing we need to do is get the sides of these tenons flat. So the way I like to do it is I just use a block that's the right size or close to the right size of the finished size. I'm going to take a chisel, line it up against there and flatten it down like that. I'll give a close-up view. I've done the other three, I've got one more to go. So I will show you how to do that now. Okay, so you can see the grain's running, it's running straight across here, so it's going slightly there. So let's take a little bit off the back first. So there's not much meat left there. You can see when we take our chisel across that it's still about 1 millimeter below, so we've still got some space. We can remove some gear there, work our way a little bit back, and then come across there just to remove. You don't want to take off too much at the same time, or you'll just end up chipping it out like I did on the other side. The lower you can get it first, the better. Again, slight angle, still running it flat, and then we can do this nice and flat. That's it. Nice square, parallel to that side. Nice and flat. Let's make our mortise. All of our tenons now, and now we're going to make the holes for the mortices on that side the wood. So let's mark that out. Okay, let's do number 2. So we're going to mark it out, so just for reference sake, what our tenon will look like roughly inside here will be something like that going in there. Drop it down, and that will be our height to that shoulder. Transfer that across to there. Starting point there. Measure our tenon 34.5. Transfer that across 34.5. What we can do is measure, that's the face side, that's the face side. Take our marking gauge again, drop that down onto the face, and that will be that reference line there. So this is my line to follow. From there to there, that's where I'm going. And what I'll do is I'll make a series of perpendicular lines. That's it. So just because this mortise is so close to the edge, I'm concerned about the edge grain, end grain here popping out while I chisel it. So what I'm going to do on the drill press is just drill a relief hole on one side. I actually might make 2 sides, but especially on the one side on the end grain, just to avoid any pop out of the end grain here, because the fibers will end up being very short. So let's just pop a hole down there quickly, and then we can jump back onto knocking this out. Yes, so again, I've got my selection of tools here, my 12mm mortising chisel. Marking gauges I shouldn't need now because I've marked everything out. I've marked the one line and all the perpendicular lines, so we shouldn't need any of those. So I'm going to do it. I like to sit down when I do these things, gives me a bit more patience. Perpendicular to the top. Nice and tight. And what I'll do, use a bigger mallet. Use this one. What I will do is start on each perpendicular line, starting from the middle, with the bevel of the chisel towards the way that you're moving. So I'll start in the middle, a couple of blows there, move one line over, a couple more blows there, and then I can dig out and clean, a couple more blows, dig out and clean, and then once I get to the end, I will flip the chisel around, get close to the line, not on the line, chop it down to get a straight wall there, and then I'll work my way back that way towards the hole side that I've drilled there. So because the walls of this are so thin, you have to go really gently. So I've done about halfway down now with the mortise chisel. I'm going to switch over because now I've got nice corners, nice sides up here. I'm going to switch over to a bevel chisel and a much smaller one so I can start removing material little bit by little bit. And I'm also going to use my little chisel just so I can be a bit more delicate. One thing I've learned with woodworking over the years, just take it slow. There's no need to rush. When you rush, you're going to end up doing it again. Okay, so after the final clean out, getting it nice, keeping the sides intact, quite difficult. Let's see. It fits nicely now. Looks pretty good. Okay, so that is all 4 of them done now. Some mortices and tenons in our legs. The way these two will join in the middle is they will come down at a slight angle like that. So I will glue these up. I won't glue these up yet, I'll leave them loose. I'm going to tackle the spline joint that goes in the middle here next. Once that spline is done, then I will glue the legs up as a left and a right, or a front and a back, whichever way you look at it. And then we can start on the rails. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any comments or what you would do differently. I'm open to learning every day. Thanks guys. Cheers.